Have you ever noticed something that no one else seemed to see? A shift in the air, a silence that said more than words ever could. If you've felt that, you already know the danger I'm about to speak of. Because there is a quiet cost to clarity, a strange kind of suffering that comes to those who see too deeply. The world calls it a gift, but the truth is far more complicated. To see clearly is to stand outside the dream that everyone else is still sleeping in. And that, my friend, can be a very lonely place. The weight of seeing too much, there are people who walk into a room and feel everything. The tension behind polite smiles, the sadness behind someone's laughter, the exhaustion behind someone's strength. It looks like empathy, but when it never turns off, it starts to feel like a curse. You begin to see the invisible threads connecting everyone, the lies we tell to keep peace, the masks we wear to survive the crowd. At a party, you notice the small flinch of a woman when her husband raises his voice. You see the loneliness in the man who won't stop talking. You watch people pretend and you realize the world runs on pretending. And once you see that, you can never go back. Because seeing too much tears the veil of ordinary comfort. You become the observer, trapped between illusion and truth. And the first thing you lose is belonging. People don't reject you for being wrong. They reject you for seeing what they can't bear to look at. You make them uncomfortable, not because you judge them, but because your eyes refuse to lie. The isolation of clarity isolates you. Not in the simple way loneliness does, but in a way that rewires your sense of reality. You start living in a quieter dimension, where honesty sounds like rebellion and awareness feels like exile. You stop fitting in. Conversations become exhausting because you hear what people don't say louder than what they do. And when you speak, they call you negative, too serious, too intense. They say, you think too much. But what they really mean is, stop reminding us that this life is fragile. The world rewards those who stay asleep, those who follow the script, smile at the right time, and never ask why. But you keep seeing the cracks in the scenery. You're the one who notices the actor forget his lines, who sees the stage lights flicker, who realizes that the story isn't real anymore. And so the crowd begins to turn on you, not because they hate you, but because you've broken their spell. This is the true danger of seeing what others don't. Your perception becomes a mirror, and people will blame you for the reflection. A turning sight into wisdom, but there's another path, one that few ever find. The awakening doesn't have to destroy you. If you can learn to see without the need to fix, to understand without the urge to control, then your awareness becomes light instead of fire. You stop trying to wake people up. You simply live awake. You stop fighting the dream. You learn to walk through it gracefully. The wise ones, the truly awakened, don't preach. They radiate calm. They understand that everyone wakes up in their own time, in their own way. You become like a candle in a dark room. You don't demand attention, you simply shine. And those who are ready will find you by your light. Because the truth isn't meant to be shouted, it's meant to be embodied. And when you finally understand that, when you stop trying to change the world and instead learn to see it clearly without being consumed by it, the danger of seeing what others don't turns into the art of living with eyes wide open in a world that prefers them closed. The mirror and the mask. There comes a time when you begin to notice something strange, that most people aren't afraid of the truth itself. They're afraid of losing the mask that hides them from it. They build their lives around a carefully crafted reflection, a version of themselves they can control, and they mistake that reflection for who they truly are. And then you come along with your quiet eyes and silent questions. You don't accuse, you don't argue, you simply see. And that alone is enough to make them uneasy. Because when you see someone without their mask, you also see their fear. The fear that maybe they've never really lived as themselves. That's the power and the danger of awareness. You don't need to say a word, and yet your very presence reveals what others try to forget. So people avoid you, not because they hate you, but because you make them remember who they are. And in that remembering, they feel the weight of everything they've been pretending not to feel. The quiet burden of the aware, there's a quiet kind of exhaustion that follows those who see too clearly. It's not from thinking too much, but from feeling too deeply. You pick up sadness that isn't yours. You carry emotions that don't belong to you. You feel the world's ache inside your own chest. And it's heavy. You try to rest, but awareness doesn't sleep. It watches, it listens, it feels the undercurrent in every silence. And sometimes you wonder, what would it be like to live unaware? To drift through life without analyzing every heartbeat, without noticing every subtle crack in the illusion. But you can't go back. Once your eyes have adjusted to the light, darkness no longer feels like home. So you learn to move differently, to protect your energy without closing your heart. You stop absorbing and start observing. You stop drowning in empathy and begin floating in presence. This is where sensitivity becomes strength. You learn that awareness doesn't mean pain, it means clarity with compassion. The art of gentle seeing, when awareness matures, it softens. You stop trying to fix the world and start learning how to walk gently through it. You realize not every wound needs your hand, not every silence needs your voice, and not every truth needs to be spoken. Because wisdom is not loud, it breathes. It allows space for things to unfold. You start to see that your purpose isn't to drag others into the light, but to keep your own light steady, so that when they're ready, they can find their way. The danger of seeing what others don't was never in the seeing itself. It was in the forgetting that you are human too. So you begin to laugh again. You let the world be imperfect. You stop fighting the illusion and simply move through it, awake, aware, and at peace. And one day you look around and realize you're not as alone as you thought. There are others who see too, quiet souls scattered across the earth, holding their light softly. And when your eyes meet theirs, you both smile. A small knowing smile that says, "Yes, I see it too." The gentle return, "You've walked with me through the danger of seeing what others don't. You felt the silence, the loneliness, the strange beauty of awareness. Now, let's come back home. Because after all the lessons, after all the realizations and quiet awakenings, there is one truth that remains. You were never meant to carry the world alone. Even the most awakened soul still needs rest, still needs laughter, still needs a reason to stay soft in a world that often feels hard. And maybe that's the final secret of all great understanding. Not to escape the dream, but to learn to love it consciously. To see the illusion and still choose kindness, to know the chaos and still find beauty in small, ordinary things. A cup of tea, a gentle conversation, a sky painted gold by a setting sun. Because wisdom isn't about becoming distant. It's about becoming present enough to notice how precious this fleeting life really is. The danger of seeing what others don't turns into peace when you stop resisting it. You learn to let people dream until they're ready to wake. You stop trying to prove your vision and start protecting your peace. And in that stillness, something beautiful happens. Your awareness becomes light for others, not by what you say, but by the way you exist. So if these words touch something in you, if somewhere inside you felt, yes, I felt that too, then you already know. You're not alone in this way of seeing. There are many like you, quiet minds, deep souls, watching the world, learning, healing, becoming. And every time one of us speaks, it reminds another that they're not crazy for caring this much. So take a moment, breathe, look around your world again. Not to fix it, but to see it. Because maybe the world doesn't need more awakened people shouting at the sky. Maybe it just needs a few awake hearts walking gently through the noise. If this message resonated with you, tell me in the comments. What part of this journey spoke to your soul? Was it the loneliness, the clarity, the peace that comes after acceptance? I read every reflection you share. Because this channel isn't just about ideas, it's about connection, a small space for those who see deeply, to remind each other that awareness is not isolation, it's understanding. And if you want to keep walking this path, to keep exploring the quiet art of seeing, feeling, and being awake, because here we're not trying to escape life, we're learning how to live it with our eyes open and our hearts unguarded. So thank you for walking this far, for listening, for feeling, for seeing. Until next time, stay gentle with your truth, and remember, the world doesn't change because you shout louder. It changes because you understand deeper. I'll meet you again, somewhere between silence and understanding.